Thank you very much, Mr. Kant. Very good afternoon, and a very big thank you to the Honorable Prime Minister, members of the Cabinet, the entire Niti Aayog team, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Sir, I must congratulate Niti Aayog particularly for this amazing initiative. The energy, the pace at which you've acted is truly exceptional and inspirational for all of us. Certainly there are learnings from this initiative, but I've always believed version 1.01 is better than not doing something at all. And it's phenomenal what we've been able to put together in 15 days. So thank you for that opportunity. And thank you to my team for this opportunity to stand here on behalf of 30-odd really dynamic people who worked actively on this subject of soft power, Incredible India 2.0. Soft power, Incredible India 2.0 is not a wild card, even though it may seem so by the terminology. And let me just start with telling you a little bit about what is soft power. Soft power is like intangible assets. A lot of you are businessmen, you understand the balance sheet. There are tangible assets and there's intangible assets. Soft power is what you can get done through influence, not through authority. What you can get done not using your military or money power, but through the power of culture. That's what soft power is. And as you know from business, tangible assets are not the majority of the value of a business. That's why it's important. So what will it take, in our opinion, to make a dramatic, a transformative impact on soft power in the next 5 years? It'll take a mindset change on the importance of tourism as a multiplier industry. Not as just another industry, but as an industry which is a huge multiplier. It will take a recognition that our 5,000-year-old heritage is a massively under-leveraged tangible and intangible asset. But let's see what the current reality is. It's still the previous slide, please. So the current reality still, if one looks at what the narrative on India is overseas, and that's from the CIA website, the picture, and that's the Delhi-Agra highway. It says Fact Book India, and that's the picture you see about India on the CIA website. The current reality is also the tourist arrivals in India. When you compare them to Disneyland, all the Disneylands around the world get about 15 million visitors a year. Just one museum, the Louvre in Paris, just the one museum, that's the museum that has the Mona Lisa, gets about 9 million tourists a year. India gets just under 8 million tourists a year currently. All of India, with all our rich history. That is the current reality. But that's not what we're here to discuss. What we're here to discuss is how can we change that. Next slide, please. And what is our overall goal? In 5 years, what can we aim? And there is one publicly available data source there. And that publicly available data source is from the Portland Institute of the US. That publishes a soft power ranking every year, and India does not feature on that ranking. That soft power ranking includes 5 Asian countries, China, Japan, South Korea, Singapore, and Australia, but does not have India within that top 30. It has Thailand at number 36, just outside, but India is not in that list. So of course our goal would be, how does India get into that top 30? Just like, sir, I'm absolutely sure with the initiatives on ease of doing business, we will enter the top 30 of the World Bank ease of doing business report. That is the tangible move. That will help also soft power, but how can we enter the top 30 of the Portland report by 2022? And we'll make some suggestions on that. So if we could please move to the next slide. So therefore, the one big goal, one big transformative change, what would we like to see? And we said, we'd like to see 100 smart sites in India. Just like there are 100 smart cities, whether these 100 smart sites are in those 100 smart cities or not, we would like 100 smart sites in India by 2022. These could be spread across museums, UNESCO World Heritage Sites, experiences, or indeed the Taj Mahal. But 100 smart sites. You know, the ASI has 3,843 sites listed on the website. 3,843 heritage sites in India. Could we not have 100 where we could create an amazing experience. That's the one thing that will stand out about these smart sites versus every other site. And an experience that leverages future technologies, that leverages private sector service standards, like what was there on the previous slide, the Oberoi Hotel Group being the #1 hotel brand in the world. If we can do it in hospitality, create the #1 brand with all our constraints, why can't we use some of those for the benefit of leveraging our heritage? And of course, leveraging innovative means to fund, like using naming rights. Overseas, naming rights are very often used. The Vodafone British Museum or the Rogers Stadium. Why can't we partner with the private sector to take on the responsibility to just give their name and money, and then partner with somebody else to give the experience, and then eventually have it all rated publicly, who qualifies to be a smart site? I think the third thing we'd like to talk about is Incredible India 2.0. Incredible India 1.0, ladies and gentlemen, was in the wake of 9/11. Tourist inflows had come down to a very small number. What would Incredible India 2.0 need to be about? It would need to be about removing the myths about India in the view of our group. India is about pollution. There are safety issues. There are absolutely beggars and bullock carts and Bollywood, and some of those things exist elsewhere. But we need to change the narrative on India, that it is also beyond that, and use all the means available globally to change that narrative, remove those some of those myths. The second big, it's still the previous slide, please. The second big idea we have is, just like there is the Make in India for the manufacturing sector, for the arts and crafts sector, why can we not have a handmade in India with love branding? Why can't we not have a handmade in India with love branding that cuts across sectors like khadi, pashmina, or basmati rice, but a brand we can be proud of? The third one there is creating icons and the visibility, which can also help break some of those myths. Today, our icons are sports people. Our icons are Bollywood stars. And occasionally, and quite rightly so, they are politicians. But we need to give visibility to future youth icons for our people. How can we create 100 faces of the vibrant India that we know that's being created today across the world? And lastly, we need to move away and leverage public-private partnership, the hospitality, the advertising, and link that to what used to be a product. The product used to be a pashmina shawl, but an experience would be a museum-curated experience to understand how that shawl comes about. That's what the West is really good in doing, and I can tell you there are very few other places that have that 3,843 sites. The fourth one is technology. Next slide, please. And really, again, leveraging on what we've done with the UPI, with the Aadhaar, all tourism-related information with the government to be put out on this platform, tour guide names, backgrounds, so that developers and companies can build apps for ratings, for reviews, for bookings of things like the Taj Mahal off that app. Today, if you want to book a visit to the Taj Mahal, you can't do that through a TripAdvisor or through other things. The Taj Mahal will have to be booked through only limited government means. So it's similar to the Bheem on the UPI. We can make an Incredible India app. Of course, digitization. How do we digitally help our artisans digitize and bring them into the financial inclusion net, so that by digitizing them, we can enable them to create an Amazon-like marketplace of our own. Of course, education and tourism, leveraging e-learning for the artisans is the third point that we'd like to make. The Coursera-like material that can be used, and that can be linked to a review and rating mechanism. And the fourth one's really a video guide contest. A video guide contest. If we can give the opportunity to guides around the country, or even other individuals, to take a 1-minute video and come to a video show to become the guide idol of India. Imagine the number of new sites that will come to the fore, and how guides will take that. And thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister, for that idea to us last night. The last one is on policy change, and on none of this can happen, and I think that's what we need from government. The very first request is on integration. The ICCR, the Department on Tourism, the Ministry of Civil Aviation are all trying their best, but there needs to be, that's a 9-minute warning, thank you, needs to be all integrated into one vehicle. If we have to recognize that multiplier effect of tourism, if it could come under one vehicle, whether it's a new Visit India vehicle, but how it can come under the direct supervision of the PMO is what we would like to see. Certainly a liberal GST regime. We compete with many other people for offshore tourism. Of course, an easy GST refund process would help, but domestically, 18 to 28% GST compares with 6 to 12 GST with who we compete with for tourism. Of course, the Mudra schemes and Stand Up India schemes are terrific, but the lending is not happening at the last level. Private sector is willing to cross-guarantee some of the lending, and even though collateral is not required up to 10 lakhs, we think, but that is becoming a hurdle, and private sector is willing to do that. And of course, things like what is up there called the dry day, things like the Supreme Court action will happen in this country, but when they happen, how can all those departments come together to deliver that vision for India to be in that top 30? And if we are able to do all that, ladies and gentlemen, if we are able to have that single window, I think, next slide please, and that's the final slide. If we are able to do that, and there are many, many other ideas that we could create, many, many other ideas, I think our eventual vision, not by 2022, but by 2032, should be that the Summer Olympics are hosted in India somewhere. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.